Welcome back to Good Sports for You, where we are talking about good sports for you. And today we are on our third playoff preview of the day, and we are talking about the San Diego Padres. They're in their game right now against the Cubs. But before I hop into it, I want to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. If you have something that you really disagree with me on this video, comment down below. Let's talk about it. Let's chat. I would love to do that. So the process for the day today is we're going to talk about just like my gut reactions of the squad. Then we're going to talk about the good, the okay, and then the bad with this team. Then we're going to look at who they have in the field. Then we're going to look at the rotation and then the bullpen. And then I'm going to finish up with just like some final reactions and some predictions and such. So let's hop right into it with my initial gut reactions. I think this team is good. I mean, they have an experienced and quality lineup. Their pitching rotation is very good, and they got a great bullpen, and they did a lot at the deadline to really bolster themselves. So I'm really excited to see where they go. Just gut reaction, I feel like this team has the vibe of a team that can win it all. I don't really know that for sure, though. I mean, they got to face some really good competition going through, but just like gut reactions, I really like this squad, and I'm excited to see where they go. When looking at things that are good about this team, they're third in team ERA, they're third in WHIP, and they're first in opponent batting average, and they're sixth in strikeout per 9. So I think that's all really solid. I mean, obviously top 3 in runs allowed in terms of your ERA, third in WHIP, so they're not really letting runners on base. And then they're first in opponent batting average. And I know that like walks are like a big deal nowadays and stuff like that. But personally, batting average to me will always be important because the fact of the matter is that a single is more valuable than a walk because a single can drive in a run. Like if a guy's on second and they get a hit, they just get a single. A walk isn't going to be able to drive them in, but a single definitely can. So that's why I think it's so important that their opponent batting average is that low. I mean, they're the best in the whole entire league with that. And in addition, they're striking out a lot of people. Strikeouts, again, similar to walks and everything like that. I mean, the strikeout just takes the bat out of the batter's hand, which you want every single day of the week and twice on Sunday, especially in the playoffs. And then when you look at the offense, I was honestly surprised. There aren't a lot of really standout things about this offense. They're 7th in batting average, and they're 9th in on-base percentage. So, I mean, both those things are good, but they're not in really that upper echelon that I would have expected from this very experienced and what I thought was a very deep lineup. Now we're going to look at things that are only okay about this roster. When it comes to pitching, they're 16th in strikeout to walk ratio, and they're 18th in home runs allowed. I think the biggest thing that I want to focus on here is their home runs allowed. I've said this in literally every single one of my videos. Home runs are so important in the playoffs and one of the biggest indicators. So they need to find a way to limit that long ball because like I said about the strikeouts, about how the strikeout takes the bat out of the batter's hands, home runs take the ball out of the fielder's glove. It's just plain and simple. You need to limit the home runs. So while that's only in my okay category, I would put a little star next to that as a main concern for this Padres team. When you're looking at the hitting more so though, they're 18th in runs scored, they're 16th in walks, they're 18th in most strikeouts while hitting, they're 16th in OPS. I was shocked by these numbers, quite frankly. I thought that they would have been way better. Like I said, with their good stuff, I thought that they were like a really, really potent offense, and it turns out that they're just kind of league average in a lot of things. Notice that I haven't said home runs. We're going to get to that when we get to the bad category, which again, I was shocked by. I thought 18th in runs scored seems phenomenally low for this team. But what I will note is their lineup, like it isn't very strong, but their rotation is so strong and your bullpen is so strong that you're fine with that. I mean, with this team, it's like if they can score like 4 runs in a game on average, maybe even 3, it feels like you have a really good chance of winning just because your pitching is so strong. And then we're going to look at some of the things that like clean up around the margins is the way I talk about it. They're 18th in stolen bases. They're 17th in base running runs. They're 18th in fielding run value, and they're 10th in outs above average. So I group these things together because, again, they're not like main talking points, but they're always things that they're like, oh, it's a nice plus, or it's a, oh, you don't love that for any team. Because when you're talking about base running runs, you want to be taking the extra base. You want to be stealing bases. And the Padres just don't do that well. And I don't like that for any playoff team. And then when it comes to the fielding, it's the exact same thing applies. And they're just kind of league average depending on what stat you look at. And I know defensive metrics are all whack nowadays because nobody really knows what's going on, but they kind of do and they act like they do. I don't get it, but I'm fine with that. But regardless, they need to do better. And these are things that are going to matter big time in the playoffs, because giving up balls like in the gap, for example, that makes a huge difference. If you have a fielder who can get there and you can stop one run from advancing one base, those are going to be the things that are do or die in these playoff games when you're facing these really good teams. And then also the last thing I want to note is that they're perfectly 500 against teams that are 500. I don't love that, because all the teams that you're going to be facing are going to be 500 or better, so I would hope that you would be better. And honestly, like I said, I expected them to be better. So, I mean, they've beat up on a weak schedule probably because you've had to face the Rockies a lot, and like that's just the fact. But I'm not going to knock them too much. Similar to like I talked about with the Dodgers, I'm not going to knock them too much for a bad schedule, but it's just something like put a little star next to that one too. Just keep an eye on that, because those things are really invaluable. But then again, they're going against the Cubs, who have the worst record of anyone in the playoffs against teams that are above 500. So you do like that for the Padres specifically. When you talk about things that are bad with this squad, there aren't a lot of bad things. There's a lot of okay things, but there aren't a lot of bad things per se. They're 22nd in walks per 9, so they're letting a good amount of free bases go, which you don't love, obviously. The biggest thing, though, is they are 28th in home runs. This is a huge, huge playoff indicator. Basically, every single team who has made the World Series has been like at least top 20 in home runs, and even then it was like one or two teams. 28th is like shockingly low for this squad that I thought they used to be Slam Diego. What happened to Slam Diego? I mean, what's even happening here? It's like you're not hitting nearly enough home runs to be successful in the playoffs. So that is my biggest chief concern for this whole entire squad. They're also 22nd in slugging, which again I was surprised by, and that's got to be because they're hitting so few home runs. So if there's one thing, like if you're a Dodgers fan and you want to knock on the Padres a lot, put a big exclamation point next to how few home runs they've hit this season. Again, I was shocked by how low it was. Next, we're going to go into the lineup. Over at catcher, they have Freddie Fermin, who's been fine. I mean, their catching position was always kind of weak this season. He's a good defender. His OPS is not fantastic. He got a 70 OPS plus, which you don't love. Your backup catcher right now is going to be Martin Maldonado. Shout out my GOAT, Martin Maldonado. I mean, and I honestly, this is a crazy statement to say, but I absolutely love having Martin Maldonado on your squad, because you know he's not going to hit, but also pitchers love him. And if he can make your pitcher pitch better, that is all that matters, quite frankly. And I know that he is a guy that can get that done. I mean, he's done that for World Series teams in the past. I mean, he has so much experience. He's bounced around basically as a mercenary for hey, I'm going to make one or two pitchers really good. I love that he's the personal catcher for these guys. I mean, it's so funny. It's so funny. But shout out Martin Maldonado, because he always keeps a job, which is wild considering how bad of a hitter he is. At first base, you have Luis Ariz, the contact king, another contact king back in San Diego, This season, he has been a little bit down, though. He only has a 99 OPS plus. I mean, he hits for absolutely no power, and he basically swings at everything that he can, and he doesn't walk. So, I mean, it's not shocking that his OPS isn't that high. But, I mean, I assumed that if you're batting where he is, he's batting in the 290s, that it would be a league average OPS plus, but it isn't, At second base, you have Jake Cronenworth. Jake Cronenworth is just a very quality player. I mean, in the past, he's had OPS pluses past 115. This season, he's sitting at a 108, which is fine. I mean, I think, like I said, he's a quality player. He can play around a little bit. I like him at a second base position. And I mean, second base isn't where you're going to really find your premier bat. So having a 108 OPS plus, I think you are totally fine with that. Over at third base, you have Manny Machado. I think you know what you're going to get out of Manny Machado. Yes, he is getting older, but he's still a quality bat. He has a 118 OPS plus this year, so he's 18% better than league average. And he is still one of the premier defenders in the league. He has such a good arm. I mean, he can gun players down. An incredible talent. And, yes, he's slowing down a little bit, but he still has a lot of juice left in the tank. And I love how much experience he brings to the San Diego team. And then over at shortstop, you have Xander Bogaerts. Again, this team is kind of filled with old guys. Well, not old guys, but very experienced guys, because I guess Xander Bogaerts and Manny Machado aren't that old. Xander Bogaerts, though, Go take a look at his baseball reference page, first of all. I think it's a lot of people would be shocked by how many hits he has and honestly how close he could be to Hall of Fame candidacy, just like to know. But he's sitting this year, he's had a fine season. He started off slow, he's picked it up, then he slowed down, then he's picked it up, all that jazz. He's been pretty streaky, but he's sitting about league average with a 99 OPS plus. And once again, similar to second base, at your shortstop position, you don't hate that whatsoever. Over in left field, it's been a little interesting. Ramon Laureano was there, but he's hurt right now. And right now, you're looking at Gavin Sheets, who's sitting at a 105 OPS plus. That's fine. Not a whole lot to say there. At center field, you have Jackson Merrill. Jackson Merrill, big fan of. He did really well in the Rookie of the Year voting last year. This season, he's taken a little bit of a step back. I know he's dealt with injuries, but he's sitting at a 112 OPS plus. But that is a little bit deceiving because in September, he has picked it up a bunch. He is sitting at a 946 OPS in September alone. So he has been on a tear. He's still a plus defender, so I really love him out in center field for this Padres team right now with the way that he's been playing. Over in right field, you have Fernando Tatis Jr. Everyone can have their opinions on Tatis. I think he's good. Do I wish he didn't juice? Obviously. But he's playing phenomenally well this year. He has a 125 OPS plus. In the past, he's won Gold Gloves. His defense hasn't been quite to the level of when he won that Gold Glove, but he's still a plus defender out there. So really like what they're doing, specifically on that right side of the outfield with center field and right field, because Tatis is a dog, and Jackson Merrill is also a fantastic player. At DH, it's been really interesting. They're one of the first teams where it's just kind of been like, yeah, we'll see who goes. I mean, Gavin Sheets has gotten some run, like Jose Iglesias has gotten some run, kind of like Luis Ariz has gotten some run, Ryan O'Hearn, just kind of a little bit of everyone has gotten some run, which is fine. I would prefer a guy who is like a really, really quality bat, and they don't really have that because then they're losing a lot of defense. Like if you're going to put like Tatis at your DH, you're losing a bunch of defense in right field. If you're putting Manny Machado at your DH, you're losing a bunch of defense over at third base. So it's like, what do you really do? So it's been kind of like this rotating slot, which I mean, it's fine, but it's not the best thing in the world, in my opinion. And then when you're looking at the bench, you have Jose Iglesias, known for his hit song OMG when he was playing with the Mets, and he can play a little bit of everywhere, which I love. His bat has not been fantastic this year, I will say that, but I enjoy that he can play a little bit of everywhere on the infield if you need him to. So if a guy goes down, unfortunately, or like they just need to sit for a little bit, he can cover that very easily. And then also at first base on the bench, you have Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn came over from the Orioles this year, and he has been a plus bat for this squad. So I love that addition for them. It's definitely helped out everywhere around there. And then, like I said, their backup catcher is Martin Maldonado. Love that. Love Martin Maldonado. And one of the reasons that he's the backup catcher is because once you take a look at the IL, you have Elias Diaz, who was primarily their catcher throughout this season, but he is hurt now. They project him to potentially be back for the NLDS, although he is completely off the roster for the Wild Card Series, which you don't love at all, obviously. And then also you have Ramon Laureano, which I think hurts the squad a lot more than Elias Diaz being out. Personally, because Ramon Laureano has been very, very good for the Padres this year since he came over from the Orioles as well. And it's tough to say when he'll be back. There are talks about him maybe being back for like the NLDS, but I would not be surprised if it's even further, maybe the CS, maybe even the World Series if they can make it that far. When you're looking at the pitching staff, this is where this team really starts to shine. For the probable pitchers for this Wild Card Series, you're going to have Nick Pivetta, who has a 2.87 ERA and has over 5 WAR this season, so you absolutely love that. In your 2, you're going to have Dylan Cease, his ERA is not fantastic at 4.55, but he does have over 200 strikeouts, and I know for a fact, I had him on my fantasy team this year, he can really put up a solid performance for you, sometimes out of the clutch out of nowhere, but I also know that he has a little bit of a tendency to blow up sometimes, which you don't love. But all those strikeouts is a really quality for Dylan Cease. I just wish the ERA was obviously a little bit lower. For your Game 3 starter, they currently have penciled in there, they're going to have Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish has been an interesting case because this season he's been pretty poor, rocking a 5.38 ERA. But he has so much experience, and he's just one of those guys that I feel like you can trust because also like he has all those different pitches. So you never really know what you're going to get with him as a hitter. So when you're in the playoffs, I wouldn't mind giving him the ball. Like I said, in that Game 3, which would be the pivotal game, I would be comfortable with having Yu Darvish coming out, even though his ERA this season has been pretty darn high, but I know that he can still get the job done. After that, you also have Randy Vasquez, who has an ERA that's around 3.84, and you also have Michael King, who had an ERA at 3.44 this season. So, I mean, both those guys, like, they have a very, very solid rotation. I mean, the weak spot is Yu Darvish, and if you're telling me, like, oh, Yu Darvish is the weak spot of your rotation, if I wasn't really looking at this year, I'd be like, wow, that is fantastic. I got this guy who's, like, one of the best strikeout pitchers, like, technically, like, ever, coming in my 5 spot. Like, I'm totally okay with that. But obviously this season he hasn't been as good. But the thing about this rotation is they have a bona fide ace in Nick Pivetta. And like I said, if your 5 guy is Yu Darvish, you're totally comfortable with him coming on the bump in a pivotal game. So this whole entire rotation from top to bottom is just feeling really, really good. And then you go over to the bullpen and it maybe even gets better. You have Robert Suarez, who's your closer, who led the league in saves this year with 40, and he has a 2.97 ERA. You have Adrian Morejon, who's been having an incredible season at a 2.08 ERA. You also have Jeremiah Estrada at a 3.45 ERA. You have Wandy Peralta at a 3.14 ERA. And then arguably the biggest piece of this whole entire squad has been their trade acquisition from the A's, and that's Mason Miller. This season, I didn't even know this at the time. Like, I know that he was kind of shaky with the A's at the start of the season. With the Padres, he has been almost untouchable. He has a 0.77 ERA with the Padres, and that's not over some small sample size. That's like a solid, like, third of the season. I mean, everyone knows that he has some of the best stuff in the whole entire league. So if you can go him to Adrian Morejon to Robert Suarez, I mean, that eats up 3 innings. You can have your pitcher go 6 or even 5 because it's not like the rest of their bullpen is really lacking. That is just such a luxury that I don't think you have for really any other teams. And then on top of that, they have Jason Adams, who's hurt, unfortunately, and he's going to be out the whole entire time. But if he was back, he had a 1.93 ERA this season. So just, like, imagine this squad. I mean, realistically, you could have your starting pitcher go 5 innings every single time, and you would be perfectly comfortable. So this bullpen is one of the strengths for this Padres team. When you're looking at this team as a whole, there are a couple things I want to note. The first thing is that their offense is not nearly as good as I thought that it would be, quite frankly. Like, going into this video, I thought, wow, this team's stacked. I mean, you got Manny Machado, you got Tatis, you got Bogarts, you got Arise, you have all these players that are known for their bats. And then I was looking at the numbers and I was like, oh, okay, that's not what I was expecting. And then on the pitching side of things, though, they are so talented. And honestly, like, if they can just rest on their pitching staff, specifically on that strong bullpen and a couple of key starters, I really think that they'll be fine. And also, they have a lot of playoff experience through this whole entire team and a lot of experience with this Padres organization as a whole. Like, not a ton of these players are trade acquisitions. Obviously, some of the key players are, like Mason Miller and stuff like that. But a lot of these players have been with the Padres for a very long time, like Manny Machado, like Fernando Tatis Jr., which you really love for this squad as a whole. My 2 questions are, can they make it past the Cubs, and can they make it or even win the World Series? My answer to the first question is going to be yes. I really do think they can make it past the Cubs, primarily off of their backs of their bullpen and their starting pitching. And I don't think that the Cubs have the depth of pitching right now that the Padres do. And for a 3-game series, I think it's going to shine. I think you can get to your bullpen really quick. You can have them pitch like 4 quality innings out of your bullpen easily every single game. And so then, like, your starters aren't going to get too exhausted. So I think that they can make it past the Cubs. Although I do think it's going to be tough. I think it'll honestly go all 3 games. I don't think they can make it to the World Series, though. Even though I like this lineup, I don't know why, but the lineup just doesn't have the offensive juice that I thought that it was going to have, especially when it comes to the home run ball. And you're going to be facing the Brewers, and the Brewers are a team that can just take advantage of your small mistakes. And my concern is that because of that, the Padres' small mistakes are going to be amplified to the point where the hitting isn't going to be able to make up for it. Like, especially if you don't have the home run ball. However, with that being said, the Padres have been smoking the Brewers recently. So I think that there's a chance there, but I do think that Pat Murphy is going to get the Brewers' head screwed on straight, and I do think that's where the road is going to end for the San Diego Padres. But that's all I got for you today. If you agree or disagree with me, comment down below. Let's have a discussion about it. I would absolutely love to talk to you. And while you're at it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe and do all those things. That's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed listening to me. I enjoyed talking to you, but that's it for me, and I'm out. Peace.